Around the Bead podcast, tire talk for trucking, mining, agriculture, and more. Your home for fleet solutions, aiming to inform, pioneer, and entertain the tire world in connected industries. Sponsored by East Bay Tire, keeping essential industries moving forward.
Welcome back to Around the Bead podcast. I am your host, Joseph Pahonic, and we have a very powerful story today, one that has been worth sharing for a long time. We have Joaquin Marquez in the studio today to tell us about an incident that happened to him that every tire technician should hear, every manager should hear, everybody who cares about the folks that live and breathe this industry. You've heard it from me before, and you'll continue to hear it from me, that I believe that tire technicians and tire service is a low probability, high severity job. And what I mean by that is that we don't often hear the accidents, but when the accidents happen, they can be catastrophic. Joaquin, welcome to the show. Are you ready to kick the tires with us?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to kick some tires. Thank you for having me, Joe.
So we'll get into your story in the accident, but first, tell the audience, tell the viewers, how did you get into the tire industry? What were you doing before tires? What got you into it?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a small town called Madera out of the Central Valley. And, growing up, I got put in boxing at a young age. I got put in probably about 8 years old, where I started training and fighting. And, throughout the years, I started making a name for myself as an amateur.
Yeah.
I fought world champions like Andre Ward, Timothy Bradley. And I had an extensive amateur history of 79 fights, 74 wins, 5 losses, 44 knockouts. And then, of course, as a child growing up with adversities, right? Broken homes, I got influenced by the wrong people, and I took a wrong turn in life where I got involved with, bad things, right? And so at age 18, I ended up in prison. And from 18 to 32, I was in prison. While I was in there, I didn't pick up no vocational trade. I really didn't take advantage of all the opportunities prison had to offer. So when I got out in 2016, I had the mindset of being a professional fighter. So I got out and I tried professional boxing. I had 7 fights, 7 wins, 0 losses, 4 first-round knockouts, fought on ESPN.
ESPN?
Yes, fought on ESPN.
We're going to have to get the editors put the clips up.
ESPN 2 Friday night fights. I fought on there.
When did you start fighting?
I started fighting at 8 years old.
8 years old?
Yes. And then I continued on till I was about 15 before I took that wrong turn in life.
Did you love fighting?
You know what? To be honest with you, it was a great sport. Like I said earlier, I was growing up with adversities, so I didn't find acceptance at home, through, things that I did. Like I was never told, oh, you did a great job. So, when I fought and anytime I fought and I won, I always felt the praise through people saying, hey, you did a good job in the ring today. And that fueled those endorphins that made me want to continue to train and continue to want to be out there and excel in the sport of boxing. So fighting is not something that I like to do. I was always nervous, but somehow it came out really good in the ring where I would come out on top, Hard work and discipline played a big factor in being able to be prepared for each and every fight that came across my way. So.
And something, obviously, that has helped you throughout your life, that discipline to overcome adversity. What made you leave boxing?
So what made me leave boxing I started at a young age. I didn't know anything else but boxing because that's what I was raised doing. But once I was influenced by, other kids, some of my brothers, they were involved in, like to drink, smoke pot, hang out with girls. And so that's when I got introduced to that lifestyle and something that I've never experienced before. So when I finally did experience it, I was like, man, this is something that's pretty cool, You got girls who are into you and then on top of that, you had the getting high or drinking and things like that. Felt good at the time. I was still very young. I didn't know that was wrong, that I should have never been doing it. I kind of was just a follower at the time.
Yeah.
And being a follower got me in trouble. So I learned today that, I set boundaries in my life, and it's unhealthy to do those things. So I don't want to glorify any of that.
Yeah.
And, I ended up in prison. And while I was in there, I didn't take advantage of those opportunities prison had to offer to make me a better person. But I did have a lot of self-reflection, and I was able to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So that's why when I got out in 2016, I pursued my boxing career to turn pro.
Yeah.
And when that didn't work out, because the culture of boxing has a lot to do with, it's a lot to do with money and managers. And, there's a lot of controversy behind that people don't see. All they see is these named fighters making a lot of money, and they think that boxing is an easy sport. But it's pretty difficult if you don't know what you're doing, and you don't have the right communication skills for yourself to be able to deal with things that come your way. So, anyways, boxing didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything to lean back on. So I reached out to one of my aunts who does own a tire shop.
Yeah.
And she gave me the opportunity to work for her. And so...
You mentioned being a follower, and it's hard for me to imagine that as you, because you're a big, tough dude, and every time I've ever met you and known you, you've been a leader. When you first told me your story, just a piece of it, it was in front of a team of a bunch of technicians, and you were proud to talk about the story. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about accidents, and you taught 8 other guys what can really happen if they're not paying attention, if they don't have the right tools, if they don't have the right training. So you feel like a completely different guy right here in front of me than what you're describing.
Thank you. Yes. So in the past, I would have never been able to speak up for myself because, if you don't know, then you don't know, right? So being a follower, I didn't know what was right. But today, as a new person that I am, I'm a family man, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I learned what it was to love myself. I learned what it was to respect myself. And with knowing those things right there, it's easy for me to be able to talk about how weak I used to be to what it took me to be a real man today. So today, it's easier for me to be a leader because now I know what I want, and I'm not going to ever let somebody else mislead me again because today I know right from wrong. I have kids who look up to me. I'm a role model. Like I said, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and so I want to be able to have my kids not grow up with the adversities that I grew up with. So part of that is being able to identify them and turn from it by doing the right thing today.
An army of kids.
An army of kids. Yes.
7 of them, right?
7 kids that live with me. One of them just went to the military, so there's 6 under my household.
Congratulations.
Right now. Thank you.
So coming back to tires for a minute here, we've heard this story before. I think it's common. I think our audience is going to relate to that. You know somebody, you have a family member, you start as a tire tech, they throw you on the pad, throw you in front of some tires. What was the moment that you felt like, hey, this is the industry that I want to be in. This is something that I want to pursue. We call it BDE, Big Dog Energy. What was that moment for you?
Okay, so when I was working for my aunt, I got taught to do a lot of tires. At that time, I was pretty blind to how much tires, were like. I was just pretty blind to like how much you can grow in the tire industry.
Yep.
And so I thought I knew everything there. I was there for about 3 or 4 years, and then I transferred over to another job in the Central Valley where I gained a little bit more experience. I kind of dealt with the same tires, tractors on down. And then when I applied for East Bay Tires, I talked to the manager over there, and he asked me, what kind of tires do you know how to do? And I told him I could do everything. I've done everything,
I've heard that once or twice, yeah.
So then he starts naming tires off, and I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I said, man, you know what? Tires are more than what I thought they were. And so me wanting to provide for my family, I already knew all the basics from the tractors on down. Mm-hmm. I figured that there's more for me to grow in. And I think that was my big dog energy is where I realized that I could actually make a living off of this. I could pursue a career in doing tires. And I believe that I'm with East Bay Tires now, and I believe that this is the right company for me to grow into where I want to be because they do a variety of tires.
I couldn't agree more. There's so much depth that you don't realize when you start out. We talked about it this morning. We don't know what we don't know as kids, and we're constantly learning. If we have that mindset, that'll also keep us safe, right? You can't possibly. We have some of the most experienced tire trainers on the planet in this room. And they're still learning. They haven't seen every wheel. They haven't seen every tire. They haven't seen every terrain. It changes every single job.
Yes, sir. And that's something to keep in mind, is that you're never going to know everything. You have to have an open mind, because even till this day, I have some years of experience doing tires with you guys, and every job site I go to is different. It's a different opportunity to learn something new. So it's important that we have an attitude of humility when we approach a job. We have to look at it. You can never get comfortable, because anything can happen out there.
Humility. I love
Humility.
that.
Yes, sir.
So we really came here to talk about the incident. I think that's something that I want to go through in great detail. Tell us about that day. What was the job? What was the call? What time of day it was? What truck did you have? What equipment?
Okay, so that day, I can't remember exactly what day of the week it was, but it was at the end of the day, the end of my shift. It was about 4 o'clock in the evening, and I had a 4500 Stellar, small boom truck.
Yep.
And my boss said, "Hey, the dairy called, and I need you to go do 4 new tires on a 425 K." Is it 420?
A John Deere loader.
Yes.
That's maybe a 524.
Yeah, 524.
Yep.
Sorry, 524 John Deere loader. And so I said, okay. And I said, well, since it's the end of the day, can you send somebody to help me? And he said, sure. So he sent my son out there to help me.
Hang on, for our viewers and listeners, you and your son were working at the same tire company at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So yes, we were working at the same tire company at the same time, and my son went out with me to go help me, and we drive to the job site. First thing we find is, of course, the equipment.
Yeah.
We moved it onto a hard surface, and at this
a concrete pad.
yes, concrete pad. There's we made sure the surroundings were clear, and we moved the loader to where we were going to work on it, where we can park the truck on both sides of the loader to be able to get to it comfortably.
Yeah.
And the first thing we did was
what time of year was it?
It was the summer.
Yes. Summer in the Central Valley at a dairy is a different flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fun with all the flies around.
For those in the audience that don't know, it can be 110, 115 in the Central Valley during the summer. That's a sticky place.
Yes, dry heat.
Yep.
The smell of the dairy sticking to your clothes.
Yep.
Everything plays a role. You just want to get the job done and get out of there.
Yeah.
So, we park the loader. We lift the bucket up to lift the 2 front wheels up. Mm-hmm. We take our tools down. At the time, I didn't know what I know today, so I'm just going to tell you what I knew back then.
Yeah.
We lift the loader up with the bucket. We did the right front wheel, knocked that out with no problem. And then I put the bucket back down so the wheels were on the ground. We moved to the back right rear tire.
You let the air out of both front tires at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I let the air out of both front tires. And then I put the bucket down. And then I moved to the right rear tire. So you got to keep in mind that the right front is inflated, the left front is deflated.
Yep.
And then I set my bottle jack underneath the pumpkin. I didn't know the proper lifting points at the time. And then when I set the bottle jack, I had a stack block. For you guys, for those who don't know, a stack block is maybe 12 by 12 inch block, about 6 inches high, where you can set your bottle jack on top of. That way it gives you a little bit more height.
Like a railroad tie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I let the air out of the right rear tire. Mm-hmm. As I was about to start lifting the loader. The air's coming out.
You haven't jacked. You've got a bottle jack underneath the pumpkin.
That's it.
You've threw in some railroad ties underneath the axle. Then you're starting to air it out, and you're still underneath it.
Yes. So at this point, the only thing I have underneath the loader is the stack block with the bottle jack.
Yep.
And then I'm under there, and I'm on my side because I'm tired, and felt like maybe I could rest while I lift it, you know?
Yeah.
So I was on my side, and as I went to lift it, the air's coming out. I noticed that there's a screw on top of the bottle jack. And as it touches the loader, it starts to slowly spin, and it moves from the original place that I put it.
Yeah.
And the stack block that I had was already worn out. So I noticed the bottle jack slant just a little. And right when I told my son, I said, hey, pass me the jack stand. It gave out. The bottle jack flew out. The loader crushed me. And when it crushed me where my shoulders were trying to touch each other. And it pinned me underneath the loader. And then at that time, my son was able to get think quick. You know, he got the bottle jack, he slid it under the loader, and he started to lift it just enough to help me out from underneath the loader. And once I got out.
He's lifting the bottle jack where you're at, or he's lifting it from that front left axle?
I believe it had to have been from in front of the loader tire.
You're basically blacked out at this time.
Yes. I feel all the pressure going up to my head. I'm not thinking about anything other than it's just a blank mind at that time.
Yeah.
And once he lifted the loader off just enough to help me out, I was able to slide out from underneath the loader. I got up, and at that time I realized I wasn't breathing, so I started trying to gasp for air. And somehow one of my lungs opened up, and I was able to take a small breath in, which was very painful because of the broken ribs and the cracked sternum that I had and the damaged esophagus, which I later found out that I had. It was very painful. At that time, believe it or not, the Madera Hospital was closed down. We didn't have a hospital there.
So let's slow down. So you're there. You can barely breathe. You got cracked sternum, cracked ribs. Your boy is calm at this point. He's just watched his dad get crushed underneath a loader.
Yes.
Is he freaking out?
Yeah. You know what? When I noticed it, he conducted himself very well. Almost like he was a natural at this for some reason. He was asking me if I was okay, and then he started putting away some of the tools that were going to be in the way if we took off, like the hoses. We kind of left most of the tools, but closed the tailgate, put that back up. He made a phone call to my boss, and he had let my boss know what was going on. And then at that point, him and my boss were able to communicate.
I'm thinking of something here. I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
Did you check in with somebody when you got to that dairy?
No.
So at a mine site, you check in, but in ag, in dairy, it's pretty rare, right? You have huge pieces of property. It's often, hey, go find this equipment on farm number 4.
Correct.
Right? And you have to go drive around and you have to find it. So nobody knows you're out there on site.
If I would have went by myself, I would have probably died. And that's because nobody knew I was on the dairy.
I don't know if even probable. I think almost certainly.
Yes.
Nobody would have known you're out there.
Nobody.
That would have slowly crushed your sternum all the way through.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. So I would have died that day.
So you guys basically, hey, we gotta get to the hospital.
Correct.
You guys take one truck. You leave one truck there?
Yes, we went together.
We
were in
together.
the same truck. We got in the truck. He was able to communicate with our boss where the meeting point was. Here's another thing is we got in the truck to leave, and the truck died out. And then so
the battery's dead?
So before this, there was a sensor going on in the truck that wouldn't allow the truck to start. And so I talked to the boss about it. They fixed it. But they didn't test drive it after they fixed it. So, when we tried to leave, the truck died out on us. And then we started. It went in limp mode. That's what it was. It went in limp mode, 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
We had to turn the truck off, open the door, do something. And then we got back in the truck, and we took off again, and it died out again. It went on limp mode again. And so my boss ended up meeting me on the nearest exit to the freeway because the truck kept going on limp mode. And so anyways, we communicated, and finally we switched trucks, and we got to the hospitals. And from the Merced Hospital, they were able to transfer me to Modesto because Merced didn't have the tools they needed to check what was wrong with me. Modesto had the tools, but they didn't have the doctors. So then from there, they transferred me to Sacramento, I believe. It was another hospital.
Same day?
Yes, all in the same day. And then they transferred me to the hospital in Sacramento, where they were able to have the doctors and the X-ray machines to see exactly what was going on. And that's where I ended up staying.
How long were you in the hospital?
Possibly about 2 weeks. I was in there about 2 weeks. So what happens when the loader crushed me is there's a low part on the loader in the back that's lower than the rest of the part of the bottom of the loader. And when it crushed me, it's similar to stepping on a water balloon. All the pressure goes to the front. So in my situation, all the pressure went to my head. And when I was in the hospital, I didn't even have a neck. It was just, my head was just bloated, full of air and blood that was trapped from the air that was in my lungs got pushed up. And so there was a lot of air in my blood. And so I didn't have a neck. My face was swollen. And I had to wait for a lot of that to go down. They had to put tubes in my ribs to be able to drain some of the air from the blood. And and after about 2 weeks, I got cleared to leave the hospital.
Broken sternum.
Cracked sternum, 8 broken ribs, damaged esophagus.
How did you feel when you got out?
I was in pain. I was grateful for still being alive. So at that point, I was looking at the positives rather than the negatives. And I just felt really blessed to be able to live and be able to tell this story so that I could probably help other people out who like to get to a job and get things done quick.
There's so much to digest there. I'm going to leave that to the comments on this video. Everything from knowing where the hospital is, to checking in with somebody on site, to daily vehicle inspections. I mean, the luck along the way, and also foresight on your part. Hey, it's the end of the day. Maybe I don't feel comfortable doing a loader job. Can you send somebody else with me? That was the biggest decision you made that day,
Yes.
from what I see.
Yes, when we sit here and look back, it was a good thing that I did ask to send somebody with me, because most of the time I wanted to be known as the person who could get the job done. He doesn't need help, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we all have that machismo, or
Yeah.
we don't need help.
We want to be the dog.
Yeah, we want to be the top dog, And I realized that it's okay to ask for help. With East Bay Tires, you guys did all the proper training, and you guys have trained me a lot to be able to know what to do and things as far as arriving at a job site and checking in. I never knew to do that before. I was never taught that. I was just always told, hey, we got this equipment down. We need you to go out there and fix it. And so my mindset was, hey, I'm a serviceman. I'm going to go out there and get the job done for the company.
Yeah.
And so, now I'm very happy that I'm in a position where I'm with a company who cares about me, cares about my safety, and cares about me making it home to my family.
To get on preach a little bit to everybody out there that's listening. There's a lot of pressure on trained technicians, but it's incumbent on everybody. It's incumbent on the manager to be trained and want to know what those risks are at that job site, the supervisor, the rest of the team to keep out for one another, and the owners. It's literally everybody across the board has to be bought in. It's not just one person's responsibility.
Yes, you're right about that. It takes for a company to work as a team. And when I say that is just like you just said, it takes for everybody to be trained on the same thing so that we're all on the same page. Because a lot of times our boss who's sending us out to do the job doesn't really know exactly what's going on with the tire.
Yeah.
So they have to understand that as a trained tire technician, of course we want to make the sales. Of course we want to get the job done, but safety comes first. And when I say it takes a team, what I mean by that is, when I get to the job as a tire technician, if I realize that tire is cut on the sidewall and it has exposed wire, if the flange or the lock ring is damaged in any way and has a crack, and I can't work on it because it's dangerous not only to me, but to whoever may be operating that equipment as well. And I make that phone call to my boss and I say, hey, it's not good for me. It's not safe for me to work on.
Yeah.
And at that point, we have to make a decision that he's going to take my word for it. and we could come together as a team to communicate it with the customer and say, hey, you know what? I know you wanted it repaired, but it's not repairable,
Problem solving.
Yes,
We don't know
problem solving.
what we're walking into. Let's work on it together.
Yes. And so we all need to be trained together so that way everybody knows what kind of things can happen out there. Yeah. And so that we can make the healthiest decision possible for not only us, but the customers as well.
Yeah, 100%. If we don't repair that vehicle right, that tire right, we're leaving the operator at risk.
Yes, yeah. Correct.
So, Joaquin, I want to finish with this. You have a tremendous story, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
What would you tell your younger self who's starting work at your aunt's store in the Central Valley that's just getting started in tires? What would you tell him?
You know what? I would tell my younger self that it's not about how fast you get things done. It's about going to work with a humble attitude, with an open mind, with a trainable mind where you're able to be trained. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you see something that's wrong or if you can't do something by yourself, don't be afraid to speak up and ask, Communication is very important between the employee and the boss. That way they know how you feel. And I would just say, hey, you know what? When you go to work, have a clear mind, be in the moment. Don't be distracted by cell phones, by things going on at home, maybe kids' events that you're going to be late to. Go to work and focus on the job at hand. And take your time and get things done right. Of course, we want to do it in a timely fashion, but safety always comes first.
I love that. Stay in the present.
Yes, stay in the moment. Stay in the present.
Joaquin,
makes a big difference.
Joaquin, thank you. Let's leave our viewers with that and air this one up.
Thank you for having me.
Around the Bead podcast, tire talk for trucking, mining, agriculture, and more. Your home for fleet solutions, aiming to inform, pioneer, and entertain the tire world in connected industries. Sponsored by East Bay Tire, keeping essential industries moving forward.